My name is Olivia Rosenberger, and this is my informational speech on Norway. The capital of Norway is Oslo, which is also its largest city. The population is 5.1 million people. 86% of the population is Norwegian, 1.3% is their native Sami peoples, and the 12% are modern immigrants. The area of Norway is 148,718 square miles. This is my map of Norway. It has a very long western coast and is bordered by Sweden and Russia. Their language in Norway is either Bokmål or Nynorsk Norwegian, and their native Sami language. Their government is a unitary parliamentary constitutional monarchy. Their current monarch is Harald V. Their prime minister is Erna Solberg. The president of the Storting is Olaf Tommensen. Their chief justice is Tor Schnee. The unification of Norway was in 1872 AD. Its constitution was introduced on May 17, 1814, and its dissolution of its union with Sweden was on June 7, 1905. Its restoration from the German occupation during World War II was on May 18, 1945. The Arnsberg culture was the first inhabitants to settle in what is now Norway. They belong to the Upper Paleolithic culture, and they settled in present-day Norway around 11th to 10th millennia BC. The next settlers arrived around 3000 to 2500 BC and were Indo-European farmers who grew grain, kept cows, and sheep. 5th century finds from the 5th century describe extensive destruction of the Western Roman Empire by Germanic tribes. Viking Age began in 1872 when Norway was unified in the Battle of Hartsford in Stavanger. Harald Fairhair was the first king of the unified Norway. After the unification of Norway, Norse traditions were slowly being replaced by Christianity around the 10th and 11th centuries. Feudalism never developed in Norway and Sweden as it did in the rest of Europe. In 1349, the Black Death radically altered Norway, killing 50 to 60% of its population, leaving it in a period of social and economic decline, and the country itself very poor. The Kalmar Union brought together the thrones of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden around 1400 AD. In 1521, Sweden broke from the Kalmar Union. Norway tried to follow suit, but was defeated in an ensuing rebellion from Denmark and remained in the Union. Between 1695 and 1696, famine killed roughly 10% of Norway's population. Between 1740 and 1800, the harvest failed in Scandinavia at least 9 times, creating another great loss in population. In 1898, all men were granted universal suffrage, and in 1913, all women gained voting rights in Norway. Norway is separated peacefully from Sweden on June 7, 1905, and was completely independent for the first time in 586 years. During World War I, Norway was neutral. Although they were forced to hand over their merchant fleets to the UK at very low rates, as well as joining the trade blockade against Germany. They were forced to sail under the British flag and risk being sunk by German submarines. Norway also claimed neutrality during World War II, but Norway was invaded by German forces on April 9, 1940. Although there were 2 months of military and naval resistance, they finally surrendered on June 10, 1940. From 1945 to 1960, the Labour Party held an absolute majority in the parliament. Norway was a founding member of the European Free Trade Association, and between 1972 and 1994, Norway held two referendums on joining the European Union, but both failed. Today, Norway uses its extensive oil and natural gas resources as one of its biggest revenues. It is one of the most pollution-free countries and has one of the highest standards of living.